Good morning. It's a wonderful morning. It's very, very sunny, but it's quite chilly. I don't believe I've ever come up this way before. The bottom of Broadclough is very pretty, especially in the sunshine, and it might be worth coming back and following the brook up. So I'm doing another explore walk today. And right now I'm off the path wading through quite difficult terrain. It's very deceptively deep. There's kind of clumps of grass which are quite high, but either side is quite deep. And what I'm looking for is to see if there's any kind of remnants of a shooting cabin. This is just one of the many things I'll be exploring and trying to locate today. A 1903 map showed a shooting cabin somewhere along here. It's difficult to line up the old maps with the current map. Things have changed. This fence, for example, is not in the same location as the previous boundary. But somewhere along here there was a shooting cabin. And it was on the 1903 map, but by the time the next map came out a few years later, it was no longer marked on the map, so it's been gone for some time. So it was somewhere close by here, and this does look like a suitable location. It's fairly flat. The other side of the fence is certainly not flat, this side of the fence. I can't see any rubble or any firm evidence though. I'll keep looking. It might be a bit further up. Yeah, wherever it was, I'm now past the site. So I can tell you that from this side of the fence, at least, there's absolutely nothing to be seen now. You might be able to see something if you could get over the fence. Maybe going up the clough itself, you could have a look. So now I'm just coming into the area which is the main focus for today's walk. It's an old quarry, or series of old quarries, just to the north of Broadclough. My main source of information about this location is an archaeological survey by National Trust. I'll put a link to that and various other resources that I've used for today's walk in the video description, so please check it out. It's fascinating when you read all this. But they weren't really able to date this quarry. It predates the earliest Ordnance Survey maps. The National Trust Archeological Survey dates it anywhere between medieval and 18th century. And this quarry was used for millstone production. And we know this because there are millstones which were left in situ, or half-finished millstones left in situ. Hopefully I'll find a few of those today. Now the Archeological Survey has a hand-drawn map showing where lots of interesting things are. The problem is it's a little difficult to match up the hand-drawn map with the Ordnance Survey map and with what you can actually see on the ground. So there are a few things that I'm going to try and find and check out. I'd like to find some millstones in situ. So right now I'm going to try and find another shooting cabin, which they believe would have been originally a hut that was used by the stonemasons and then was kind of partially converted into a shooting cabin. Now there are were three shooting cabins in this area. I've already tried to find one and it's completely gone. This one, the next one, which was adapted from a stonemason's hut, that shooting cabin survived on the maps for quite a period, a lot longer than the other two did. It's no longer on the Ordnance Survey map and it is just a ruin, but I think it was functional and in use for a lot longer than the other two were. It is an incredible day. I'm going to say this is what I'm looking for. This was definitely a building. Oh, there's a little bit of standing wall over here. Yeah, this is it. The sink here matches the description. And there we have our first millstone. Look at that view. So the Archeological Survey believes this was a cabin or a shelter for the stonemasons, and then was converted into a shooting cabin. And the good thing about finding this is it now kind of helps me work out where I am in relation to everything else on the hand-drawn map. So I think what I'm going to do is just have a wander around, see what I can see, not worry too much about the maps for now. If I find something interesting and I want to cross-reference it with the Archeological Survey, then I will try and locate it on the hand-drawn map on the Archeological Survey. Now that I've found, oh look, there's another one. Now that I've found one of the features on the map, finding other things should be easier. Now you do need to be really careful when you're walking around here. The quarrying was done in really small bits called quarry delphs. And maybe there was one stonemason just working one area the size of this perhaps. So what you've got are all these delphs, some of which have been covered up by vegetation, and it's really easy to fall into one. And when I was doing my research for today's walk, I did read an account, I can't remember who it was, I'll put the information on the screen, but one couple that came looking here, one of the two people twisted his knee falling into one of these. So when you come off the path here, you do need to be really careful, and I'm being really cautious, going really slow, using my trekking poles to just check the ground beneath my feet. the Archeological Survey mentions a number of rock shelters, and it's difficult to tell what would have been a rock shelter and what would have just been remnants left, but that does look like it might have been a shelter to me. Now, some of you may have guessed, or it may already be apparent from the title of the video or from the coming up clips at the beginning. I don't know what that's going to look like just yet, but some of you may already have guessed anyway that there is one particular thing that I'm looking for, as well as everything else. There's one very special thing. I know a number of people come here at the end or towards the end of a long walk. I really wouldn't recommend doing that. You don't want to get here when you're maybe running out of time, running out of daylight, when you're tired, when you're rushed. I would really recommend coming here directly, like I've done, with no other plans. I've no idea where I'm going to go after I've finished exploring this area. Actually, I've got a couple of ideas, but nothing firm, nothing substantial. You know, just come here and give yourself plenty of time to explore, have a good look around, take it slow, take it easy, be very careful. It is just an incredible place. I don't think you're going to be able to tell, but the size of that is incredible. You don't really notice, but so many of these boulders are partially worked millstones. Now I know exactly, or I hope I know exactly, the location of what I'm looking for. But I can tell you something, if you didn't have the exact coordinates, there's no way that you would find it. Look at this. So I'm following this quite narrow trail. This trail is marked on the map, and it eventually leads up to Clutha Rocks, I believe. But I am going to have to come off it at some point. These views are incredible. I'm taking so many photos and video clips. Right, well, the moment of truth. See if we can find it. So it's taken me a few minutes. I thought it was in amongst that lot, so I got right into that, and then trying to get out again was really difficult because of the crevasses between the rocks. You need to be really careful, but I found it. This is my first time to come here. I'll put links in the video description for some really good videos that I used in preparation and research for today's walk. But here we go. This is the Dogstone. It's not very clear. I don't know how well this is coming out. So we've got this cipher, and then we've got kind of an arrow and some other symbols there, and then below it we've got a carving of a dog. So I really don't know how well this is going to show on the video. Hopefully you can see something there. So we've got code. And beneath the code, we've got these symbols here with an arrow, or what appears to be an arrow, pointing that way. And beneath that, we've got a dog, which is probably the most difficult thing to make out. So my finger here is right on the tip of the dog's nose. There's his ear, his body, his tail, his leg, his belly, his front leg. Hopefully you can see that. So these symbols here are the start of the coded message, and the really significant one is the second symbol. It's not clear, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of chipped away here at the bottom. Next to it, there's no chipping, it's quite a clear line, but this one, a little less distinct. So are those two symbols the same, or are they different? It's pretty much accepted that the stonemason who carved this made a mistake with that second symbol, and he tried to undo the mistake by changing it here. Now that angle hopefully is a little bit clearer with the dog, the head, the ear. But let me tell you something, there's no way that you're going to find that unless you have the coordinates. I have the coordinates, and even I got it wrong a little bit. I was over there to start with and then came over here. So the text, the code, the cipher on the rock is a variation of the pig pen cipher. And depending on what that symbol is in the first word is either she or she, but she is the one that makes sense. So it has been decoded. It's a little bit disappointing when you know what it means. It says, and I might get the words slightly wrong here, so I'll put it on screen. It says something like, she may be small, but she is of the best or the finest greenstone. And then no one's quite worked out what the three symbols are there means. It could simply be an arrow indicating the direction of the rock that the mason's talking about, and no one quite knows the significance of the dog either. But greenstone is a type of hard sandstone, which is what all of this is. This is gritstone, which is a form of sandstone. The pigpen cipher is actually pretty easy to understand once you know how it works. It's not a particularly complex code, and it was used by masons, and obviously the masons as we know them today were originally stonemasons, like the person who carved this, probably sometime in the 18th century. There are other videos which better explain the pigpen cipher and how this was translated. I'll put a link to all of those in the video description. So it's gone 12 o'clock now. It just goes to show how long it takes to have a look around this area. I mean, I've not really fully explored it at all. There's still at least one thing that I want to check out. But it's lunchtime, so here's a good spot to have lunch. It has clouded over, unfortunately, and the temperatures drop right down with the sun going in. It was extremely cold this morning. There was a frost, and it's starting to chill down again. So I'm gonna, luckily it's not that windy, so I'm gonna probably sit here and have my lunch. So I've been sat here having my lunch next to the dog stone, and I don't know if it's my imagination, but I'm starting to kind of see numbers all over that rock and other things, and this rock here. It's all too faint to make anything out, but it definitely looks like there is or was something else there. Could just be my imagination. So it could be older, or it could be newer, that's just not been carved in so deep and therefore has eroded quicker. But to me, there definitely looks like there was other things on here. And there's something here that could have been just my imagination and the angle that I was sat at. It's not so clear now I'm up close, but to me it looks like that's a leg, that's another leg, and I can't see it now I'm close, but I could see a head and one arm. I think this is the arm, and the other arm kind of behind his back, and he looks like he's holding like a pick or something behind his back, behind his neck, behind his head. So maybe that's a little clearer. So you got a leg there, another leg there, one arm coming down, that's the head, another arm with what looks like a pick behind his head, like on his neck there. Could just be my imagination, but once you start looking, you see all kinds of things. And I can definitely see what looks like numbers, but too faint to make anything out. And above it as well. Okay, I may have given the wrong date earlier when I talked about the earliest map I could find that featured 3 shooting cabins. I think it's 1892 when that was published, and then the subsequent maps didn't feature 2 of the cabins. They only featured the cabin I found over there, that's believed to be made from the remnants of a hut used by the stonemasons. So I might go down and try and locate the other one, the other cabin, which is down there somewhere. I don't know if there's going to be anything to see of that one. Okay, change of plan. I can't be bothered to go all the way down. It's not easy to get through all these rocks. The going's very tough. And that other shooting cabin was only on the very oldest map and wasn't on the others, so I don't think it's going to be worth going down, because the other shooting cabin that was marked on the oldest map, I couldn't find any trace of that one. If I come back, I'll have a look for it, whenever that might be. makes you think, if you were to spend a bit of time, or a lot of time, checking out each and every one of these rocks, I bet you'd find other stuff as well. It's a potential rock shelter. So over in the very distance you can just make out the knot. These are Clutha rocks. So there's Kinder Downfall in the distance. We've had quite a bit of rain in the last few days, so I imagine it's fairly impressive. Although I don't think it's windy enough today for it to be doing its magic trick. You know, I don't often come up Kinder Scout. I'm put off by the number of people who come here, but every time I do come up, I'm always blown away by its sheer scale and dramatic beauty. I mean, look at it. Right, well, I'm not going to walk on the top on the Pennine Way because that's going to be too busy. I'm going to take the lower path via the Three Knolls. This looks like it goes down and joins the top of Broadclough. So I reckon Broadclough would be a really good scramble. I'm at the Three Knolls now, or one of them anyway. So these are believed to be ancient burial chambers, tumuli, although interestingly it doesn't say that on the map. But they are incredible places, powerful places. So I'll always remember, I think it was Boxing Day 2 or 3 years ago, I came up here and I took this path alongside the Three Knolls because it was Christmas time and I wanted to find some snow. And I found some snow on Kinder Scout, on the top of Kinder Scout. It was a freezing cold morning and there was waves of fog down in the valley below. You couldn't see very far at all. You certainly couldn't see the reservoir in the valley below. All you could see was these banks of thick white fog, these waves of fog kind of rolling in and rolling out, and every now and then it would clear just enough for you to be able to see in the far distance. You really couldn't see down into the bottom, but you could kind of see over there, the other side of Kinder Scout. And it was just an incredible experience. The ground was white with frost and ice and a bit of snow as well. The sun did eventually come out and it cleared up, and by the time I got down to the bottom, most of the snow that had been sat there at the start of the walk had already melted just a few hours later. looking down at Broadclough, it seems to split into three. One going that way, another coming this way, and then this one splits. And the middle one comes all the way up here. So here I am at another one of the tumuli. Look at this. You can clearly see. That sheep's not scared of me at all. You can clearly see that this would have been part of the structure. So this is the third one. There's less to see on the third one, but I suspect the reason for that is that it's more intact. It's more buried still. So ahead of me is the steep ascent up Kinder Low End. Incredible views towards South Head and Mount Famine. Right, well, descending now, a slightly different route than I came up. The weather's gone very dark again, and I can see Manchester is under heavy rainfall by the looks of it, so I'm guessing that's on its way here. Yeah, and it's just started raining. But there's really not much more walking to do. I'm not going to bother getting my waterproofs on. It's not worth it, not unless it turns torrential. Well, that's the loop done. So I'm just going to go back to the car the same way as I came up this morning. It was a good walk. I really enjoyed exploring the old quarry. Some fascinating stuff there. I'm really glad that I found at least one of the old shooting cabins, which of course is even older than the shooting cabins, because prior to that it was used as part of the quarry. It was a quarry hut. I found some millstones in situ, and of course I found the dog stone. So yeah, that's something I've been after visiting for a while. Glad I finally did it. And then I also really enjoyed the walk back. You know, the views from Clutha Rocks were fantastic, and I just love the three knolls. They're really special places. You can feel the importance of the place. So yeah, a really good walk. The weather's been good to me up until about 15 minutes ago, and I've not far to go now to get back to the car. I hope you enjoyed watching. See you next time.